I feel like unless the SVP has like a very polarized draft in which they can bring it to BURIRAM, even if they end up with a solid draft, as we're seeing here, very solid so far, especially with the Nami Varus combo. Nice. I still feel like it's not going to be enough. I feel like you need to like double out draft here BURIRAM here for them to win the game.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm happy so far, right? Because we did expect to see some gank-heavy junglers. Lee Sin banned away, Vi denied, so J4 then looks like the most likely option if you're not going to go for the Xin Zhao, for instance. Xin, could have been valuable here with a fair bit of range damage. It's not going to be the case, but they go for the Varus and the Nami. We know how aggressive that can be in the bot lane to look to try and get some early plates, look to try and shut down the Ziggs as well. But given that we now see that Senate, you'd imagine it's going to be the Senate matchup instead. So BURIRAM are saying, we've got some options to hit you early back with. We've got some scaling, and this is what we love to see. SVP giving us a picture on red side with some aggression, and then that crazy last pick, Aurelion Sol.
Yeah, Aurelion Sol can absolutely get in your face and make things happen. For BURIRAM, I like how they're not pinning themselves in the corner, right? They're not saying, okay, we're going to completely shut down your early game, but then all of a sudden, wait a second, we have you, scaling the late game better than us. They don't really want to paint themselves in the corner. They're really confident in their abilities. They have their early game. Then they scale into that late game with that bridge in between. They're just playing a very solid draft here, and that allows them to really take the game into their own hands.
Yeah, hopefully they do indeed. SVP, it seems like, again, they seem to be up to something. They seem to want to, throw BURIRAM United Esports off guard, perhaps with that Aurelion Sol pick. We're going to see if they can bring that aggression that we've been talking about to BURIRAM United Esports, because, again, you don't want to face up against BURIRAM on the late game. This team just gets scarier and scarier and scarier, and SVP, that window is closing for you guys. So, best of luck to you as we jump into game number 1 between BURIRAM United Esports and SVP. Casters, over to you guys.
Thank you, Mika Fabs, and here we are. The champions of the Hong Kong region, SVP, must win against the undefeated BURIRAM United to stand a chance in Group A. PJ, we've already seen the draft, and we are looking at the Aurelion Sol popping up for SVP.
Yeah, Contra and SVP are actually putting together a really good draft here. I really like the Aurelion Sol. It functions very much like Twisted Fate does, but does way more damage than Twisted Fate does. Downside, of course, a little bit harder to land those initiation stuns. You need to launch ambush attacks rather than just pull out a gold card. But you have that cross-map mobility, so you can function in a very similar way to Twisted Fate during the early game. Look for this Aurelion Sol on Yazi to get out of lane early and try to snowball particularly this Varus out ahead.
That will definitely be something to look up upon. And here we have a little skirmish going up top, and Noel is already trading against Albert, but he's losing a chunk of health. Here comes the flash, almost landing an auto, but the minutes are in the way though. Albert survives.
And he knows to wait until the end of the Ignite, so he gets maximum value out of the Honey Fruit. This is a massive wave that Noel managed to stack, though. And it's going to crash against the turret. Albert, is he trying to freeze this?
It's going to be pretty tough for him to freeze it for the moment.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why he let that crash. Albert will get the bounce. Yeah, this is weird. I'm like waiting to see the master plan, but Albert just prefers to farm behind turret, I guess. It's a little bit of gold from the experience.
Well, at least surviving to Telltale and still managing to soak in all his EXP was well worth it. And Jarvan could easily just get himself a few items back and just steadily hold a lane against this.
Oh, it did.
And when we look back into the matchup here, when you compare Shiba as well as Pegor, I think that Shiba is going to be having some really good access if he wants to gank onto Yahtzee whenever he gets the Assault and Battery.
Yeah, and Shiva's going to actually start this gank up here on the top side because Albert did freeze the wave. He did manage to get that minion wave shifted over towards his side of the lane, which makes it so difficult for Noel to farm that Shiba has come up here to try and clear this barrier, to try and get a kill onto Albert now.
Oh no, immediately responded here. The Vine locks them in, and Albert's got nowhere to run. Still has his flash up, will not be able to pull it anyways.
Very well played by Shiba. Spotting that opportunity, and BURIRAM United, the only undefeated team in this tournament, by first blood.
Yahtzee charging up a huge comet, but won't be able to get anything done over on the bottom lane. And now, with Noel being activated here, this is going to look so hard for Albert under the turret. Once again, Vanguard's edge, and he flashes away. Albert still managing to survive out of that, and Shiba barely getting anything. Here comes the dome, and Albert takes down the Vine.
He dodges! Noel coming in, Dawning Shadow. That's enough. They get the kill.
My oh my, there's just so much heavy focus at BURIRAM United. Could have actually played that a little bit cleaner. Well, there's something happening over Bob's side with the ribbon hopping right in. And with enough of that slash, Pegor will be able to take one down. Supporter, he doesn't really have all too much, and that's a double for Pegor.
And actually, SVP have made out like bandits. That equalizes the early game and gives them a tie gold, a kill lead, because Albert survives a 1v2, drawing the attention of 3 players, counting that Dawning Shadow from Kinemon, depriving him of an ultimate that maybe would have been very useful down in that bot lane team fight. And Albert leaves that trading 1 for 1, which is extremely positive. That's why he goes aggressive there, chasing the kill onto Shiba, because he's dead either way. He's low HP behind the turret. Noel will clean him up. So he goes aggressive to get the 1 for 1 trade, and it pays huge dividends, because then you have this focus up towards the top side not being rewarded, trading even, whilst SVP's focus is always going to be down here, always going to be with Papa, playing this Varus and trying to be the late game scaling carry.
And it's great to even have SVP focusing down on the bottom lane now that we also have the ribbon up ahead. It's just going to be multiple scenarios that BURIRAM has to focus on when they go into that late game team fight.
Yeah, I actually really like SVP's kind of status right now. They're going to be strongest, I should clarify, not in the late game, but in this mid game right about now, which is quite possibly why BURIRAM are not challenging them. BURIRAM are also okay with this handshake because they do better in the late game, because they have the center, because they have the Ziggs, help me. And so they're all right just taking gold right now, throwing down this Rift Herald into one of those lanes to boost most likely their Ziggs ahead a decent chunk of gold. That's much more worth it to them than the Dragon. The Dragon for SVP will give them a gold boost immediately, and it will also indicate that they quite badly want to be able to end this game in the mid game. They're going to be trying to win around these dragons, trying to force a fight right about now, using this Varus as soon as he completes Muramana, and Yazi, now that he's completed his Leandri's Torment.
All right, and over on to Noel. Is going to be able to first hold the lane very well against Albert. So far, we just want to keep an eye out on Pegor if he's just going to be dropping by a visit to focus down the
Ding dong.
BURIRAM United side. But
that was Pegor ringing the doorbell. Ding dong.
Well,
he showed up. There wasn't a party. Who was like, "Hey, Albert, is there a party going on?" No, there was not.
Well, so far, there is just a little bit of a sleeper going on. Maybe he just arrived a little bit too early to the party. So
yeah.
Nobody's
game
there.
Doesn't start for another 2 hours. You know. We're gonna be watching the game together. We got some of the beers. We're setting up the snacks table. We're not ready yet.
But eventually, if they were to actually prepare over the bottom side, we are already seeing supporter driving right in with a good ton. And
here's the
rest
party
of SVP. They've been able to actually catch on to Shiba. Here comes the hero's entrance, dropping right in as well. And chunking down some of these health bar, but Yazi arrives late to the scene. Archenly's going to follow up as well. Good flash coming from Kinemon, and they will be able to defuse that situation. SVP still holds on to the lead.
Yeah, SVP playing it very well, and this is, you know, what I was talking about, them playing through the bottom side, this being where the party is, because it's all about Papa. He's the major source of damage on this team, and he's just about to complete this Muramana to level it up. And that's going to mean that he's spiking on lethality. He's going to spike on roll damage from those arrows. We very rarely see a different Varus build, but this is going to be another instance of that. And the entire game throughout this mid-game is going to be a game of keep away. Can we protect Papa in these team fights whilst he throws out damage? And can we dive and properly threaten Kinemon and Archony so that they don't out-damage Papa and threaten him from range?
It could also be pretty difficult, especially when you have Archony that can actually nuke him down from quite a long distance, on top of a Shiva that will always dive head first to look for Papa. So he's got to look into those builds and maybe consider something like the Hourglass, and
Would love that.
perhaps that could also buy them enough time for SVP to counter that initiation coming from BURIRAM United if that were to ever happen.
Yeah, that's definitely the kind of trade-off you need to be working on right now if you're Papa. Because as you say, this is a hard composition to win into. BURIRAM will hold this thought as Albert is under pressure. Papa is roaming up. This is going to be a 3-on-2 plus Rift Herald.
Albert, Millie goes in, brings out the Cataclysm, locking them in place, but he won't be able to survive, and they will get the turret on top of the kill. BURIRAM United trying to neutralize all these goal gains, and perhaps this is where they can start to look for Pig, especially when they get any control over on the river for the next trade.
Yeah, so this is what I was getting into, is Archony and Kinemon are both going to start scaling into this game pretty huge. Archony's probably about to complete Rabadon's. I haven't seen his actual build, but he's probably near that point. And Kinemon, just, it's a matter of souls. We don't have a good way of checking souls from this scoreboard, but I'd assume he's maybe 4 minutes away at most from his own power spike. And that's going to just be so devastating in terms of damage. I don't think SVP can
Shiva?
answer.
Oh my, almost stolen away, and BURIRAM United, they're pretty much torn apart. Split pushes across those fights, and it's Yahtzee that gets stuffed upon. Noel goes in for the kill, while back in towards mid, they're chasing on top of Albert, but Albert managing to find the way out. With those trades going on, it favors BURIRAM United so much so, although SVP walks away with the trade.
And it's what I was talking about. It's just not comparative damage. SVP have Papa, who does damage, who hurts in this fight, but he's kind of it. Because Albert is playing weak side top lane. He's supposed to soak damage. He's a secondary tank. If you play League of Legends PC, this Jarvan functions similarly to something like an Ornn. It's there to soak up and neutralize Noel's pressure, not there to win lane. He's not going to be able to do that. Albert is poking, Albert is tanking. Those are the two states of being for this top lane Jarvan, which means coming into this late game, it's all of the damage has to come from Papa and maybe Yahtzee. Yahtzee, who's trying to scale in here, who's, I believe, trying to complete a Rod of Ages right now, and isn't going to be near big enough damage to really end fights anytime soon. Good escape, though. Did you see that?
Yeah, I just
kind of schmooved away. You just kind of...
just flying over the wall, but I believe that Rylai's is definitely a better option,
That's good
especially
sound.
it's a little bit too late to build that Rod of Ages. If you were to actually go for that, it's better as an early item as compared to building the Landers first.
Wow, yeah, Rylai's coming out here is a better choice, but it does indicate to me that Yahtzee is sitting in for the long haul here. This is a late game build.
Oh, pickoff happening
And
over on the river, though. What's going on right down there? And it seems like Noel caught off guard all alone, while
They
the
should
rest of
not fight
BURIRAM,
before this.
they're nowhere
It's
near, and they
dangerous
missed
for
the chain of
SVP.
corruptions as well. Hagar now chasing right in. They may not be able to get them right across. Here comes the time coming for supporter as well. And with the assault round, they managed to bring them down. And Albert getting caught up in the Team Heroes entrance and knock into two, while Yahtzee is going to chase right across. But with the flag and drag, they managed to bring Shiva right down low. And BURIRAM United got them all cornered up. SVP, they turn tails and run, leaving down the Jarvan behind.
You do the math and you say, this is a 4v5, we can win this. But BURIRAM kite them perfectly and set up around this very weird corner with Archony just left completely alone. The only player that was harassing Archony was David, the Nami. And so Archony is just throwing bombs into the team fight. And BURIRAM, despite being down a player, have their entire kit, all of their damage online for that fight. Supporter soaks up this aggression. Watch this, Supporter tanking all the engage, and then the double damage just sitting behind all of that, particularly Kinemon, just dealing damage unharmed in this backline. And check out Archony unthreatened round the side. SVP needed to slow down there, look at the map, take objectives, take turret control, not force a crazy fight like this.
Yeah, and they can't keep affording to rush right head first without any sort of vision into that bottleneck inside of the jungle. If they keep continuing on like that, BURIRAM could easily just punish them with all those ults available, especially when you look at supporter. If he can get those beautiful George entrance into those team fights, SVP will not have too much to respond with.
Yeah. And BURIRAM are setting up a little bit of a death bush there. But it is checked. Watch out here.
Dragon Drag.
He's
No
good.
problem for Albert at all, but Pagor's gonna be able to follow up. Here comes the Cataclysm, and he hits nothing there.
It's trapped them both. The Cataclysm kept Pagor, and he couldn't get out.
Well, feels like an MMA ring for a little tap bit. Now they will contest for the Dragon Belt, and with the Assault Battery, and a good tidal wave, knocking them up in the air, but they will be able to sustain for a little bit longer. That's where the Gallo takes an exit out. Well, RCB still continues on. Albert looking for him. Will be able to take down the Gallo. Now chasing across, and Yassi is just dealing a truck ton of damage in this team fight. Hit him on the next one to fall. It's a double for the Jonathan, and SVP may be able to trade. It's all the well here, and with that smite, that will be able to secure the Ocean Drake for SVP. But Noel still staying strong, but he will fall nonetheless.
That was so close. They're so close to a dragon being stolen away. That was so close to the team fight turning. But Ghazi shows up with damage. He's going a little bit lighter of a damage build. It's very utility focused. But you can still see what happens when you have those stars just consecutively landing. Oh dear.
Oh my. Shiba only surviving with a tick of health left. And maybe he shouldn't be pushing all alone right across. But I think that was a decent trait that he was aiming for. Now he's already burned everything that he's got. So
yeah.
GA's
just had to absolutely back.
As well.
So Yazi doesn't have real damage on this character until he completes Rabadons, which is going to be his third item. That's why I said earlier that this was a little bit of a later game build. But I want to emphasize, he doesn't have real damage right now, and he still did a lot in that team fight through good positioning. That's why Aurelion Sol is so powerful. With the player down, BURIRAM are going to focus in on this Baron, knowing SVP need to fight them 4v5. Power goes into the pit.
Pagor is pretty much stuck all alone, though. The rest of SVP not following up all in time. Alberts joins along the way, but BURIRAM United wants to take this fight in. Here comes a comment, and they will be all stuck here with the Aurelion Sol. He's going to be able to burn down all those health as he blasts them all the way backwards. Turns golden for a moment while Albert chasing right in as well. They manage to defuse the situation, and it's a triple for Archony. He survives.
Shut down.
Archony, I don't know how you just lived. He lived on maybe 1 HP. SVP managed to cancel equally inexplicably that Baron take by extending the fight for so long. They burned GA, they burned stopwatches. Paragor in the pit at least 2 minutes too early, maybe 5 minutes too early. I was checking my watch, Contra. I had hours to go before the Baron was going to die, and Paragor's just in the pit, just living his best life. Look at this, he's still about 6,000 HP when he commits, and they extend this fight. Chain of Corruption in, Dawning Shadow, all that finds the kill, but he's got GA. Albert in here tanking. They extend the fight, and it's not until Yazi arrives here and stuns everyone up and starts doing big damage with the comments that you realize, hang on, he and Papa have been poking away at this fight for a while. They're both still full HP. This is very winnable. And
indeed,
that's exactly what SVP do.
And SVP, they're putting their best front right now, and as we hold on to that, there might just be a small skirmish going on. SVP knows what's at stake here. If they lose the series against BURIRAM, there's almost no chance that they make it out to still fight for the playoffs. And BURIRAM, this is the very first time that they look like they don't really have the best idea on how to approach SVP.
This would be a huge upset. I think this would be the biggest international result, or interregional result, I suppose, that a Hong Kong team has ever gotten. This would be a truly massive pickup for SVP. They did play under the name MVP during the Summer Super Cup, and they got fairly far into the tournament, but never looked especially impressive, beat up a lot of lesser teams. BURIRAM are no slouches. They are undefeated, the only undefeated team currently. And they are kind of on the back foot here, as Yazi has now completed his Rabadons, and we're looking at a late game for SVP that is much more powerful than I had anticipated because of the presence of Yazi, who's playing incredibly well, and the lack of focus from BURIRAM onto Papa, who's just surviving these team fights, sitting in the back lines, throwing out damage.
Yeah, and BURIRAM United, they really have to rely on supporter to be able
Elder
to
Dragon up.
not only hold up the front, but also to be able to help Kinemon sustain in both parts. Here comes a little bit of clash with a good bubble onto Shiba. That's the hero's SVP pop right by. Good knock-up onto SVP while the rest of it gets chugged out. Shiba makes an exit out. Well, Noel doing it all alone. He takes out a Nami. Now chasing for another one. Pops the GA. He turns golden, waiting for the rest of BURIRAM United come right in. Great Justice Punch as well. And SVP, they have to fall back. BURIRAM United finds their lead after a little bit more of a long hustle.
Noel finds their lead, charging into 1 versus 3, and single-handedly providing exactly what we were just critiquing. Focus, threat onto Papa, forcing him into stasis, forcing him out of the fight, and denying SVP exactly the team fight they brought to the last 3. Now they're going to get 3 kills.
My oh my, another one being picked up. Pagor was already too late. He should have actually let this one go. BURIRAM United only got 1 Drake, but this is the most important dragon of them all. And I think that they're pretty much well on track to be able to get this first win.
Yeah, BURIRAM have stabilized, and they do have the gold lead handedly, so I agree with you. This does look quite good for BURIRAM. I don't think SVP are entirely out of it if they can execute the perfect team fight. They've had a couple of times so far. That's possible. What that looks like is Yazi and Papa surviving a lot of the team fight. Papa particularly not receiving threat and just being able to free fire arrows. There we go.
Up here, Assault Battery locks onto Pagor.
Yazi's getting
actually
damage.
survive. He's getting surrounded by the rest of BURIRAM United. Now Yazi joins along the way, turns golden, but the BURIRAM United side will burn him down. He's got no mana as well. And with the GA, that will keep Noel sustaining. And Albert chooses to commit with a Cataclysm. Does not look all too good. SVP does not want to commit any longer.
But they get exactly what I was just laying out. Both junglers die, so nobody's going to be able to get the Baron. And Yazi and Papa are just sitting there at the back of the fight, throwing out arrows, throwing out stars, having a good time, getting so much efficiency. It's kind of absurd that they're able to get so much damage in a fight where BURIRAM has so much engage, so much focus, so much burst. And I think a lot of it has to go on to target calling. I think BURIRAM are really failing to do that here. They spend so much to engage versus the Riven. Understandably, that's the jungler, but they keep losing fights because they're not throwing any attention onto Papa. So I would love to see them reevaluate that and put a little bit more attention his way at the start of these team fights and not be in these positions where they're spending all of their engage and all of their mobility just to keep up with the Riven and not to have anything left to threaten the backline, because that is costing them fight after fight after fight versus, frankly, a region they shouldn't be losing to. And in a tournament where they're so far undefeated, SVP are really giving them a run for their money.
Indeed they are. Yeah, just look at how SVP managing in some of these team fights so well. And now here comes the Assault Battery chasing onto the Dragon with Mega Inferno Bomb dropped right in. Yazi still has his ult. Will be able to push back Shiba. And that is definitely a very risky call for BURIRAM United to make as well.
Good escape from Yazi, but he's burnt all his summoners and his ulti, so BURIRAM, I'd be interested to see if they're going to try and punish this. They are grouping around the Baron. Yazi's back, no subs.
And Data Corruption lands perfectly on top of supporter, but he'll be able to flash away while Shiba gets caught out with the stun. But they will not want to commit. Here comes the Flag and Drag. A little bit of disconnect between SVP members. And this is the time for BURIRAM to shine. They come with Assault Battery, SVP. They've got nothing left on BURIRAM. And now chasing onto Pagor as well, as they will now focus onto Papa. How long can he survive? He gets taken down by Arseny. Well, Shiva goes on this 1v1 trade. And Pagor managing an escape. And the problem is, BURIRAM, they're already marching right in to close out the game.
Yeah, this game's over. Pagor puts up a hell of an effort. But regardless of what happens here, the Nexus is going to be taken. That'll be the game. Noel does it again.
What a game between the